So, you've just come here having watched the Amazon Prime series and now you've just started playing the games. You may be feeling a little overwhelmed, as I did when I first entered the Wasteland with nothing but a baseball bat and a packet of 200-year-old crisps. In this video I want to try and break down 7 of the basic principles of the game for anyone new to the series. In Fallout, you have 7 characteristics which you can level up. These characteristics actually make the word special. At the beginning, you get a set of points which you can distribute. You can either put them all into one or across a few different ones. I personally go for strength to increase my carry weight, endurance to increase my HP, and agility to increase my AP, and I'll explain later more about what they are. Don't worry though, each time you level up, you'll get another point which you can add to any of the areas you feel like you're low on. Also, there are perks, which are separate to your characteristics, and they can be used for additional bonuses, so things like radiation resistance, or the damage you deal with certain weapons. HP is essentially health, so you can increase your max health by leveling up your endurance characteristic. HP is also affected by radiation, which I'll explain later. Health can be topped up in various different ways, with either aid, food, or drink. AP also stands for action points, and this is basically how much points you have to use the VAT system. This is essentially an auto-targeting system, which slows down time and allows you to target specific parts of creatures and people when in combat. Really useful for targeting specific areas and weak points. Like HP, you can increase your total amount by leveling up the agility characteristic. Now, it might seem a little confusing how AP works. Essentially, how many points a weapon uses in combat depends on its weight. So the heavier the weapon, the more it will use, which essentially means you'll have less shots. Lighter weapons will have more shots, but may not be as effective. So bear that in mind when you're using VATs in combat and which weapon you're choosing. Moving on to radiation. As you can imagine, like the show, most of the Wasteland is irradiated in one form or another. Your Pip-Boy has a counter and a dial to measure radiation, and it will highlight danger areas. Now, you're not going to turn into a Walton Goggins style ghoul anytime soon. However, you do want to watch radiation, as it reduces the amount of available HP you have. It's a similar system to Zelda's Tears of the Kingdom gloom effect. The more radiation you take, the lower your max HP will be. Don't worry, Radaway can remove the effect, however you then need to replace your HP as well. Coming on to weapons, there is a vast array in the game, and they're broken down into different categories, for example rifles, pistols, shotguns and heavy weapons. You can upgrade them all with mods at weapon stations, or sometimes they'll come pre-installed. This is where having junk items can be incredibly useful, because junk can be broken down into component parts which can upgrade your weapons. You can increase your efficiency in any of these weapon types, but try and keep a variety of different weapons, as if you favour one, you're likely to run out of ammo pretty quick, and you want another weapon as a backup. I found heavy weapons are good and they are fun, but they are damn heavy, so you're going to want a high carrying capacity or sacrifice a lot of other weapons to free up the space. Armour in the game is pretty self-explanatory. It's measured by damage resistance, so essentially the higher the damage resistance, the less damage you're going to take in combat. Power armour is the ultimate and is the one used in the show by Maximus, and whilst it's super powerful, it does come at a cost. Like the show, they require fusion cores to operate, so my advice is, use your power armour sparingly, and reserve it for areas where you're likely to come across high-level creatures. Don't worry about leaving your armour in the world, it won't disappear. So my suggestion is leave it at a settlement or somewhere where you feel like it's safe that you can come back to it any time. Lastly is consumables, so things like chems, aid and food. I made a whole separate video on this, so I would suggest you have a look at that for a more in-depth look at it. But essentially, everything you eat or drink increases or decreases your stats, most of which are temporary, and they're pretty useful in tight situations. Fallout can be quite daunting if you're new to the RPG genre, but if you can understand these 7 basics of the gameplay, it should put you in a good stead. Fallout isn't Call of Duty, and it's not necessarily running and gunning. It's more about exploring and scavenging the Wasteland, and learning about the world as you delve deeper and deeper into the lore. My advice is, just take your time with it. You'll likely come across enemies that you're not ready for, but that's fine. Just try a different direction, and explore a different part of the Wasteland, and come back when you're more leveled up with better armour and weapons, preferably with a mini-nuke. Then when you come across that camp of super mutants that kept killing you over and over again, now you can level the place with a mini-nuke. Don't let the RPG elements put you off, because it is a fantastic series with such a weird and wonderful backstory, lore and characters.